everyone, my name is Oddimus Prime, and I'm joined by my illustrious co-host, PrimeTime Moff. And whether you are watching us on YouTube or listening to us, we welcome you to our weekly show, Transformers 84 to 24, 40 years of rolling out. A show that in the year of the brand's 40th anniversary, we look back and delve into the vast history of the Transformers. If you're new to the show, we'll be covering each year of the franchise in its own weekly episode with special episodes scattered throughout the year. We will mainly be sticking to the more Western coverage of each year and not solely focusing on the UK's releases of that year. We use TF Wiki as our guide to navigating, as this is widely researched, and then we don't have to do all of that ourselves. We also produce weekly mini episodes like Talking Robot Tuesdays, Retro Reviews, and Prime Time with myself, Optimus Prime. So please like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to ensure you don't miss anything on this incredible journey. Each week we're going to be discussing toys, comics, and media for that year. We pick our favourite toy of that year, and I will give a rundown of the Optimus Prime of that year, if there happens to be one. So come with us, join us on this fascinating reflection on 40 years of the franchise we all love. This week, we have reached 1988. Mr. Moff, how do you do?
I'm very well, very well. Looking forward to our conversation about 1988.
Yeah, it's a good year. We'll get on to why it's a particularly special year for me. And if you've been listening to previous episodes, this isn't exactly going to be a spoiler. But we'll get on to that a little bit later. So the usual sort of way of doing things is to look at the various sort of parts of the brand and have a quick talk about those. So let's start with the cartoon. So this year, it's a continuation of, in Japan anyway, they had a continuation of the Headmasters series that started the previous year, different to the US Headmasters, and also Super God Master Force started, but we don't really touch on those. Instead, we will focus on the amazing, absolutely bonkers weirdness that was Transformers Season 5. Moff, any thoughts on Transformers Season 5, the little-known 5th season of Transformers?
If you'd asked me this a matter of weeks ago, I'd have been like, Simon, what are you talking about? It's only in the research for this show that I came across Transformers Season 5 and had my first experience and watched the movie done through it. And it is the most surreal and bizarre way to watch the movie, but there was something joyful about it because it's a film I've seen more times than I think I could ever count, but I got to see it in a new way, so there's kind of something fun in that. But why don't you tell everybody what we're talking about? Because some people, certainly I
Yeah,
was talking to somebody this week and they were like, what you talk about Transformers Season 5, and I sent them the wiki link because you have to see it to understand.
so for those of you who aren't aware, Transformers did actually have a 5th season, 4th season being the very few episodes of Headmasters. The 5th season was basically reruns of other episodes, and most notably, the movie split into 22-minute episodes. Each of these episodes was introduced by an absolutely impeccably animated Powermaster Optimus Prime, who was either shown as a stop motion model or a giant animatronic head. And he was accompanied by a new character to the Transformers franchise, Tommy, a young, I don't know, 12-year-old lad, maybe, who used to sit on Optimus Prime's shoulder whilst his giant mouth thing moved up and down as he told his past, his history to this young lad. It was definitely a thing that happened.
that not many people know about,
No,
and for good reason.
I think I seem to recall seeing the I think in the early 2000s I had a set of CDs. No, it would have been CDs. I think it was even DVDs with ripped like small file video files of all the Transformers episodes. And some of those episodes, they were ripped from all sorts of seasons,
Mhm.
but some of them had that intro thing out of sequence and completely
Yeah.
not making any sense. So that was my first experience with it, but I didn't realize it at the time that it was season 5. And yeah, it was lovely to see Powermaster Optimus Prime in live action. But at the same time, it was at best MDF and paper mache and not particularly well executed. But
Let's be
definitely,
honest, you'd have that in your living room.
oh, of course, with no question. Um, but yeah, it was it was bonkers. Definitely, if you haven't seen this, you can look them up on YouTube and watch these little intro videos. They are just they are a thing to behold. But the first live action Transformers kind of thing, I
Mhm.
believe, other than small children playing with toys in adverts. So yeah, that and I don't think it's canon per se, but
No.
hey, it was a fun little, very, very 80s little thing. So yes, if you haven't already checked out these episodes, it's definitely worth watching. And as Moff said, watching the Transformers the movie in a condensed, well, condensed isn't the right word, separated kind of episodic way is kind of interesting, especially when it doesn't quite fit into an episode and it sort of just stops.
It's weird. That is
It's
weird.
very weird. Anything else you want to say on that, or you?
No, no. The only other thing I'd say about the media this year was, and we spoke about it, and you've kind of just mentioned actually the how many of us experienced some of the Transformers cartoons, late 90s, early 2000s on very poor ripped, very poor quality versions. That was how I experienced the Japanese series. I don't even think I managed to get through to victory. I powered through Headmasters. I watched a bit of Master Force, but I just could not get it. And it was very poor quality. I think it was Real Player. I think it was really, really bad Real Player versions that I watched. And it was only this year that having picked up some of the fans' hobby stuff, I was intrigued enough to go back and give a better quality version of Master Force a watch. And I had the English subtitles and English dub up just because I've got two kids. I don't always get a chance to just sit and look at a screen the entire time. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, like ridiculously so. And it makes me want to pick up some of the characters from the show. Certainly the pretenders from it. They're on my list for TFN this year. And I think it's that gone back and taken a chance to re-watch these shows now with better qualities of them. There's really nice high quality rips of these shows on YouTube. There's high quality rips of some of the even higher quality rips than the DVDs and stuff we've had officially. So it's certainly one that if you've not watched them, give them a chance, give them a sit down, spend a day just watching some of this media. And it is throughout this journey we're going on, Simon, we've
Hmm,
came across a couple of things where we're learning about things for the first time. And I think for a franchise that's 40 years old, for somebody like yourself or me who feels as if they've been a part of it for that 40 years, to still learn new things,
yeah.
it's just such a joy. And that experience of watching Optimus and Tommy talk about a movie was like that. Rewatching Master Force and now kind of getting it, and now seeing the having more of a love for Overlord, for God Jinrai. Like I am now, I'm really excited to do the same with Victory, and going to try and get it over a weekend where I don't have the kids bothering me quite as much, and I can really sit and watch and enjoy it. Um, had rewatched Headmasters not that long ago, and enjoyed it as much as I think I did the first time. But Master Force caught me off guard. I have to say it caught me off guard, and I really enjoyed it. And my wallet at TFN will not feel the same.
I'm going to make a minor confession now. I have not watched a complete season of any of the Japanese series, which is probably not massively shocking, seeing as I seem to have massive gaps in my Transformers geekness. I think my first experience with it was there was a version of the movie came out probably about 15 years ago that had the Four Warriors from the Sky first episode of Headmasters with the absolutely amazing English dub, um, which again, if it's something you've never experienced, honestly, you need to look it up with the absolute bizarrely named characters, the ridiculous, inappropriate voice acting. It's amazing. And also these episodes, which I didn't realize at the time, they're the Headmasters episodes, but they had the intro sequence from Victory, which made even less sense. Um, and I will never forget that Philip came to rescue them. And I'm just going to leave that there for people to investigate themselves. But yes, Philip.
It always frustrates me. I always think, well, why can't Hasbro just invest the money and put proper dubs on it? Like they've got the material there. They don't need to do any editing. They literally just need to hire voice actors and put it on. And they could easily do that at the same time as releasing, we saw these Netflix shows, just release the original stuff with English subtitles. Voice actors, I think it would work really well.
Yes, it probably will, but I don't think it's even that cut and dry. And also, you're sort of assuming that Hasbro will invest money into that, and we've already established in a previous episode that Hasbro don't even invest money in keeping an archive of their previous toys. So
Oh yeah.
perhaps that's that's a little bit allegedly. I'm going to say allegedly because this is based on a internet hearsay, but it feels pretty true. It would be amazing. I would love to have a properly voiced Japanese series. I think fan dubs is probably the best we're ever going to get on that sort of stuff, and I know those sort of appear every so often. Right, so that's the animated media. I'm going to skip ahead. Comics now. I'm going to just delve really briefly into the comics because it was around this time that I was heavily into the UK comic. This was around the time that it was all based on Headmasters and Target Masters and all of that kind of stuff, and the Pretenders were coming into it. And I distinctly remember characters like Carnivac, Powermaster Optimus Prime was kind of weirdly he sort of became iconic within the UK comic because he had that I'm going to say it's a Jeff Senior design choice, but I could be wrong. But the very square, big, chunky head that sort of became Prime for many years. But I distinctly remember that from then. You got any thoughts on the comics at that time, or?
No, I didn't really do the comics as a kid. Our local wee village didn't have the comics available. I had a handful of comics over my time, but not enough to really, at that point, have an opinion on. And then I read them kind of similar time frame as watching the Master Force. I read them on a screen on a computer, and it wasn't the same, and I never really clicked with them. The only ones I really enjoyed of the original comics was picking up like the Titan books down the line, late 90s, and they did retelling the stories. But at that point, I don't know which stories were which year. I could tell you which year they came out, and they came out in the late 90s, in my opinion, because that's when I experienced them. The only comic I have a handful of comics that I got on as a kid. but I couldn't. I don't think any of them for this. I think the latest one was kind of Fort Max coming into the Headmasters. So I don't
Mm.
really think I had any of them like as a kid at this point.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell you a massive amount about what happened at the time, but it is definitely around the time I was reading it, with all the Powermasters and all of that stuff. Right, I'm just going to quickly. I'm skipping ahead slightly onto home video, only because we had a quick discussion about this earlier. The UK home videos that came out that year were Transformers the movie, Heavy Metal Wheels, and The Girl Who Loved Powerglide. Exciting. And um, The Revenge of Bruticus and Dinobot Islands Part 1 and 2. Now, I distinctly remember renting Revenge of Bruticus and Dinobot Island Parts 1 and 2 from my local Superflix, pre-Blockbuster. And I think I probably would rent it, take it back, and then rent it again. I
Mhm.
probably saw that VHS 15, 20 times. Um, but that always sticks with me as a bit. Because again, at that point, we weren't getting the cartoon in any way, shape, or form of a sort of continuity. So it was only whatever episodes we could get. Um, Moff, anything on?
No, I love the VHSs, and it's probably the one thing I would quite easily just jump on board and start collecting. Um, I think they were a great big experience back in the day, and I had very similar memories of doing the same
Hmm.
with two or three of the tapes. We just keep taking it back and taking it over and over again.
Yeah. I remember our video shop had a couple that were on for rent, and then they had some to buy, and my parents refused point blank to buy any VHSs at the time because they were so expensive. Um, so yeah. Anyway, let's get on to the toys because that's what we really want to talk about, isn't it?
Yay!
Um,
Yes.
Now, because I have a very obvious thing to talk about, let's start with you, Moff. What do you want to
Oh,
talk
but
about with the
the problem is your obvious thing is my obvious thing. The only toy I had from this era in this time frame, and actually to be fair, the only toy I had post movie toys, other than a few Micromasters, was Powermaster Optimus Prime. And I had not fell out of Transformers, it's just the aesthetics of it. I liked the original kind of season one, two, the more that kind of diaclony look, that's what I liked as a kid. So other things appealed to me more, but Power Master Optimus Prime was the exception that made me be like, oh, look at this new big Optimus Prime. I need to have this. I don't have my original anymore. I have my original High Q still. But what a toy. I just remember him just being so impressive and so like the original Optimus Prime's a great Optimus Prime, it really is. There's something special about Power Master Optimus Prime. I loved it, absolutely loved it. You know, I don't want to say bigger's better, but certainly in this case, I think bigger was better.
um, okay, right. I'm gonna tease and hold back my thoughts on Powermaster Optimus Prime, and instead let's just have a quick rundown of what else came out this year. So we'll stick with the UK releases, and then we'll go and explore the other things. So we have the Sparkerbots, Fizzle, Guzzle, and Sizzle. Who Moff and I had a quick discussion about earlier, and I wasn't sure which one I had. It wasn't Guzzle, it was either Fizzle or Sizzle, and even though we've already discussed this, I've already forgotten which one it was I had.
It's definitely
Uh,
Fizzle or Sizzle.
it was definitely Fizzle or Sizzle. I'm gonna have to look again. It was the car. It was the car, not Sizzle. It was Sizzle. There we go. I looked it up. It was Sizzle. I had Sizzle, and he was great. So we also had the Seacons, Overbite, Sea Wing, Scalor, Snaptrap, Tentakill, and Nautilator. The
Naughty later.
possibly the the weirdest named Transformer up until that point. I feel free to disagree with me on that one, but naughty later. Always. Firecon, Cindersaw, Flamefeather, and Sparkstalker. They were a great little. I think everybody has either had one or has definitely had
Yeah.
their mitts on one. They're just the simplest, most rubbish little things ever, but they sometimes spark and they were great.
I got one for my Jamie at TFN 2022, and that was the first time I'd ever experienced one, and I absolutely loved it. And so did Jamie. Like a toy that at that point was however many years old, 34 years old at that point, and Jamie was just like, "This is great." It just shows you that actually, like we said this, I said this before. I actually regret not being into these as a kid because they're just so much fun.
Oh,
Some of the
definitely.
stuff in this is brilliant.
Yeah, no, I had got that right. Yeah, so and off from that we've got the double target masters that I had no contact with whatsoever over the time. So Landfill, Needle Nose, Quake, Quick Mix, Scoop, and Spinister. Most of which have in recent years reappeared in one form or another. I think since generations where you had Scoop turned up in the Thrilling 30s, I think.
Yeah. Great toy.
Yeah, it was a really good toy. And there might have been a Spinister as well then. I forget.
No, Spinister was he not more recent?
Yes, no, you're right. He was actually much more recent.
Again, a great toy.
Oh yeah, amazing, amazing. So again, we won't get bogged down on talking about how amazing the update versions of these have been. Then the trigger bots, they were cars that had button on the back and then guns would flip over. And if you had them in robot mode, the guns would also still flip over. They were great. My mate had Backstreet, who I really liked. He was an orange race car, a bit similar to Crasher from GoBots, similar sort of car. He was cool.
Oh yeah.
And just gonna skip over the Powermasters for a second. There are Trick and Cons, Windsweeper, Ruckus, and Crankcase. Again, similar sort of deal. Quick Switch, the only six changer the UK got. I didn't even know that six shot existed until I saw three warriors from the sky or four warriors from the sky many years later.
Yep. Same.
Quick Switch was just an amazing, amazing figure. He had six modes, all of which slightly different. I think he did so many different things, but none of them particularly well, except for Robot and Boat. The little sort of, it was a boat, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was ish. I mean, whatever. And then finally we'll get on to the Power Masters. So we had Darkwing and Dreadwind rather, who were not only amazing jets that were Power Masters, they also combined together to create a super combiner jet. You had Double Dealer, who is such an iconic toy, amazing sort of gimmick with him where you could have him as a Decepticon or an Autobot. Two Power Masters came with him, a Bat and a dude. I can't remember what. Scar was the Bat, wasn't it? And the other dude. And he had that gigantic Bissarl that he was amazing. I loved him. I didn't have him until much later. I think I got him with a mate a few years later. And then we had Getaway, Joyride, and Slapdash. Getaway is weirdly how my best mate and I became best mates because he had him in his school bag and I saw him and we became friends because of that and a mutual love for the last of the Power Masters, Optimus Prime. Okay, so I'm going to very quickly talk about my love for Power Master Optimus Prime. But first, I think we're pretty much done on everything else for 1988. Mr. Moff, what was your bot
So
of the
I'm
year?
not going to go. If I went with what I had as a kid, I've only got one option. But I have picked up different bits at points thereafter. I had the Seacons reissue. I picked up a couple of bits. I love the Technobots. I thought the Technobots were great. Managed to pick them up early 2000s. Um, I had a double dealer, not a very good quality one. I'd like to get a better one at some point. But I love the colours in this era. I think if I was to say the one toy I would love to have back, because I don't have any of them anymore, I've got a poor copy of Powermaster Prime just because I picked up a junker last year. I would love the sequins back. I absolutely the sequence took what I loved about the combiners and British swap the limbs to a whole new level, and they were just. I remember getting them in the reissue and being wowed by them. My wife made me sell them as part of getting a wedding. I don't regret it, honestly.
No, why would you?
No, but I would love another copy of them at some point in my life. The colours just beautiful. In person, they just blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. So I think they're the ones I would pick because somebody else has picked what I would have probably picked originally.
um, so yeah, very quickly, it's such a great year. There are so many figures. We haven't really even touched on the stuff that we didn't get over here, um, or even the Pretenders for that matter, which is an entire subline that we've completely not really spoken about. But
And the line that
that's
I'm now, that's probably the line I've started to collect. Just slowly but surely, one or two at a time. I'm going to try and pick them up. Certainly after Master Force, I would like to pick them up. And I have I go for the fans hobby version of the Power Masters, and the Pretender shells, the original Pretender shells, still look stunning beside them, and that speaks volumes for a toy that I absolutely did not appeal to me as a kid, and I now think, oh, wow, these are absolutely brilliant. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I was just having a look to see because we didn't actually have a separate UK catalog for
yeah.
1988 that we had our hands on anyway. So that's why I got a little bit confused with the Pretenders. Anyway, they were also great. I didn't have any Pretenders. I didn't have any Pretenders at any point. I have never owned a Pretender. Huh.
And you got the Pretender Optimus, just totally not this, but the exclusive BotCon or something,
Nope,
Collectors Club.
I don't even have that.
Oh,
I have
I have that.
never
That
owned.
was that and Megatron were the very first Pretender shells I ever owned and experienced.
Never. I mean, my friend, he had quite a few of them. Just I didn't have any of them myself. But we can talk about those another time because now I need to talk about
Yay! I'm totally up for this. I
Powermaster
love this.
Optimus Prime.
Gorgeous.
He is and always has been my favorite Optimus Prime. I got him. He was my first Optimus Prime. I may have mentioned previously that my brother ended up getting the original G1 Optimus Prime, much to my chagrin. Um, I love the gimmick. I love the combined mode. I love the every mode is amazing on him. Okay, his base mode's a bit pants, but every other mode is amazing. He's such an amazingly stoic looking, gigantic, fantastic lump of square plastic that has the
Oh,
posability
gorgeous.
of a stone. You can literally move his arms, and that is it. That is all you can move in bot mode. I mean, you could do the splits if you wanted to, but there's really no point. Um, but yeah, he's just amazing. I love him. Around this time, I was talking to Moff earlier. My friend's dad went to Japan, and he brought back my for my friend a drill horn from Leo Kaiser, and his instruction manual had all sorts of amazing things that we'd never seen ever before, and for years had no real clue of what they were. But one of those things was the God Bomber and the Godmaster Optimus Prime, as we'd mistranslated him as. Um, but yeah, that was an amazing thing. And then when he was reissued, sort of in the early 2000s or late 90s, it was the God Bomber version. But anyway, yes, he is not only my favorite toy of 1988, but he is quite frankly my favorite Optimus Prime. There have been other versions of it that are probably more fantastic. Power Baser is literally my favorite toy in the entire world. But Powermaster Optimus Prime will always have the take up the biggest space in my heart. Anyway,
That's why you should watch Master Force, because
exactly.
I loved it. I loved that toy. I love it even more because I just watched Master Force, and then recent news of a masterpiece coming. I am like, he is a very nice copy of Powermaster Prime is top of my TFN list now, and quite rightly so. Quite rightly so. So
Yeah. I will point out this isn't my original version. I have absolutely no idea what I did with that. This one I got off of a mate a few years ago for next to nothing, which was very nice. Anyway, that I think is about it for this week. I could waffle on. I could do an entire episode of Powermaster Optimus Prime, so I will. In Oddimus's Prime Time this week, I will do an entire episode on Powermaster Prime.
6 hours long.
If you're lucky. Maybe I'll do it as a multi-part piece, looking at the different. Anyway, no, let's not have spoilers. Right. So that has been our look back at Transformers in 1988. We do hope that you enjoyed this, and we do ask, please like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to ensure you don't miss anything on our incredible journey from 1984 to 2024, 40 years of Transformers. I have been Oddimus Prime.
I've been PrimeTime Moff.
Thank you for listening or watching, or both. Goodbye now.